Hey guys, hope you're doing well. In this video, we're going to figure out just how much lower your vehicle sits when on a set of lowering springs. So this is my 2014 Ford Fusion, and as of right now, the suspension is entirely bone stock. We got a few upgrades we're going to be doing here over the next few days, one of which being a set of lowering springs from Steeda. I'm definitely really excited to get these things on the car because Steeda is one of my favorite places to buy parts from. They're all super high quality. They're made in the USA, and I believe they're based out of Georgia. So parts get here in like 2 days. It is absolutely great. And then they're actually one of the few places that actually has an entire suspension catalog for this car. So definitely want to give them a big shout out. All right, let's go ahead and get some measurements. To make the measurements as easy to understand as possible, we're measuring from the ground to the center of the wheel wells. It looks like we're right at 27 and 11/16, just about 27 3/4 of an inch, but not quite. And the rears actually look like they sit just a hair higher. These actually are at 27 3/4 of an inch. Hello? What are you doing, bud? Just being beautiful. I can tell. Now we're not installing the lowering springs just for the aspect of lowering the car, it's also for the handling aspect, because this is part of the handling kit from Steeda, so while looking better, it's also going to perform better. Now while the process of installing lowering springs can get a little tedious, what doesn't need to be tedious is lowering your wireless bill. And that's where my partner Mint Mobile comes in. You can join the nation's largest 5G network for as little as $15 a month. The thing is, switching's a lot easier than most people might think because they sell directly to you online, which means you can switch basically wherever you are. You don't even have to get out of bed in most scenarios. Now what makes it super easy is they use digital SIM cards called eSIM, which means you do not need to go to a physical location to activate your phone. It can be done entirely online and only takes about 15 minutes. And if for whatever reason your phone is not compatible with eSIM, they will send you a physical SIM card free of charge. And one of my favorite things that they do is every single plan they offer comes with unlimited talk and text, lightning fast 5G, and free mobile hotspot. And they even have family plans available with as little as 2 lines. If you're interested in reliable coverage and fast data for a fraction of the cost, go to trymintmobile.com/Steedo to get started. I also have it linked in the description box down below, or you can scan this QR code right here. I want to give a big shout out to Mint Mobile. Now back to the video. With the suspension work now complete, we can go ahead and get our new measurements. I have been driving the vehicle for about a week to let everything settle, so let's go ahead and see what the numbers are. So in the front, we are at 26 and 11/16. Considering we were at 27 and 11/16, that's exactly 1 inch drop here in the front. And here in the back, we're actually at 26 and just about 11/16 as well. So it looks like it's actually squared off where it's the same height all the way around, which honestly probably from my factory suspension mean that it was pretty old. That's probably why the front was a little bit lower than the back. I'm going to do my best to differentiate the aspects of the suspension refresh as a whole versus the lowering springs specifically. So I've put about 600 miles in the car so far, and the thing that I noted right off the bat is that the comfort is still 100% there. There's no drop off in comfort whatsoever, which is something that I was getting a lot of questions on, so I definitely wanted to make that a point. Because I kind of had to pay attention to what I didn't like about the factory suspension, and the main thing that I came away with was that it felt a little too bouncy, which, I mean, it's a factory suspension, that's kind of what you'd expect, but this actually mitigates that to like the perfect degree where you're not really even noticing what it does because it is so comfortable. So I've heard like varying reports of people with lowering springs, not these specifically, but just lowering springs in general, where some people say that they're a little too bouncy because, you know, they're trying to compensate for the aspect of the ride height being lower. And then some people saying that they're a little too stiff because, you know, it is a lower ride height, so they can't really dampen as much as they used to. I really don't feel like these sway either way to the left or to the right. I feel like these are very capable, and they handle really well. They make you feel very planted, which is more of what you're noticing rather than the actual comfort of the ride, because it's, again, it's very comfortable. So yeah, you're really just noticing the upside because it feels like if you're turning, you have a lot more control of the vehicle, which is, you know, part of the handling kit. One thing I did notice as well, which was not expecting, but it is pretty cool, is that there's a little bit of camber on the vehicle. It's nothing significant by any means, but it is enough to say that you have some camber. And that does actually help with the handling aspect because it actually maximizes the contact that your tire is making with the ground whenever you're turning a little bit more aggressively. But obviously, if you don't like that, there's hardware that you can adjust that. But I think it's pretty cool. Now, as for rubbing, I'm very happy to say that there's no rubbing whatsoever.
I've done plenty of U-turns. I've gone in reverse, turned the wheel both ways, and nothing's made any contact at all, which is honestly really comforting because I have a relatively beefy setup for my wheels and tires. It's not necessarily like the smallest setup for this vehicle, but it's pretty comforting in knowing that even if you go to this length, you're not going to rub whatsoever. So knowing that you can basically have that or anything below and you'll be fine, I think is a really nice note. As for scraping, still basically the exact same as it was before, because I was scraping even with the factory suspension, which is really more on, you know, going down a steep decline or going up a really steep incline, not so much for just daily driving. That's basically the same. If you're still going up those inclines or declines, you're still going to scrape, but just any situation that you were driving before that you weren't scraping, you're still not going to scrape with the suspension.
So I'm definitely a really big fan of these springs because I think they have a really good balance of performance in the aspect of handling. They also have a really good look and a really good feel, and I think just being able to combine all those is a really, really nice option for this car. Because granted, if you're like limiting your driving, say you're only going like to and from work, it's a very smooth drive, or the car isn't like your go-to daily, there might be more appeal in like coilovers or bags. But if you're gonna be driving the vehicle like long haul, loading it down, having people in the back, I think these are a really, really nice option because it's a nice feeling knowing that you can still take this car just about everywhere. Now, I don't really consider the car low, being that it's only about an inch drop, especially with some of the cars that I've seen, but for how I drive this car and for how it's a daily aspect of my life, I think this is perfect. But that's gonna do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you in the next one.